Hello all, welcome to the Engine channel. Today's the subject is related to the motor. Basically, we're gonna demonstrate how to test the motor using this e-bike testing device that I recently bought. There is a lot of function here, but in this video, we will focus on the test for the motor, right? So first of all, let me introduce to you what is the setup, the test bench that I'm having here for e-bike or electrical vehicle. Basically, I'm having here the minimum for operates a e-bike or perhaps a scooter or electrical vehicle. This is consists of the battery, a throttle, motor controller, e-bike display, and finally the motor that will demonstrate how to test it. So the objective of this video is to diagnosticate what is the issue in your e-bike, especially testing the motor. Then after this, you can realize if the issue is especially in the motor or the motor controller or maybe in your e-bike display. So then after this, you can have more accuracy in purchase what is the component that is in fault, and then you can save some money, right? So basically, I'm demonstrate how this operates. Basically, I will turn on the e-bike display and I use the throttle to demonstrate that the motor is healthy, right? So if I turn here, you can see that the motor is spinning. If I accelerate the maximum, you can see that there is some variation when I release the throttle or when I push everything, right? As well, you can see the gears. If I increase the gear, I will have more speed. In this case, the configuration is until 5. Could be observed when you push until the end the throttle. So then if you change the gear, you can see that the maximum speed will be lower if you decrease the gears, right? All right, so first of all, let me demonstrate about the connections here. This is important because in some cases you could have some bad contact. So the first connector that we are having here is this one. That is usually connect the short cable that is connected inside the motor and then goes to the controller through an extension and a different connector as well. So basically this connector is waterproof. You can remove here and check about the pins of this connector. This is important to check if have some corrosion or oxidation in the pins. As you can see, everything here is normal. So then you can check that there are 3 pins that have some difference from the others. This 3 pin is more longer and also is wider. This is because these 3 pins will be responsible for send the power to the motor, right? Motor controller will get the power from the battery and then will send appropriately through these 3 pins and then goes to the motor spin, depending of the throttle that you are pushing or not, right? So what more we have here? As you can see, this is a 9-pin connector. 3 is for the phase of the motor. Basically here, inside here, we have windings, meaning we have coil, coppers, and then this will be responsible for receive the power from the motor controller. After this, we have more 6 pins. 5 of these pins is related to the Hall effect sensors, right? Hall effect sensors is like this. We have a PCB with 3 electronic components inside that is responsible for detect the current position of the motor, right? These 3 electronic components is Hall effect sensors. They will detect magnetic fields, and through this, they will inform to the motor controller what is the correct position of the motor. And when they have the correct position of the motor, they will send through the three phase of the motor, to the winding of the motor, the correct power, the correct voltage for the motor, right? So for these Hall effect sensors, as you can see, we have 5 wires. 3 of these wires is the output of each sensors, means that they will inform by voltage what is the current position of the motor. And as well, we have more 2 wires that is related to the power for this electronic board, right? As you can see, these 3 phases is the same color for the phases of the motor, because each of these detectors is responsible for each phase of the motor, right? So after this, you can see that you have 1 pin more here, that is the last pin. So basically this last pin, in some cases for some controllers and for some motors, we have the speed indication that the motor will detect and send to the motor controller. But in this specific case for this motor controller, as you can see, this last pin is not used, as we have only the 5 pins that is only for the Hall effect sensor, right? For the speed sensor that is inside the e-bike motor, usually they use the same Hall effect of this one. So there is one magnet here inside, and depending of the movement of the motor, they will detect this magnet and inform through pulses to the motor controller the speed of the e-bike, right? But let's go to the extension now. As you can see, we have this extension and as well one adapter for the correct connection with the motor controller. In most of the cases, we have the power connector that is a bigger connector. And as well for the sensors, we have one connector for all the pins, right? This is separated just because the power that will circulate through the cable, right? And finally, let's make the test with the motor, right? As you can see, the advantage of this e-bike testing device that already have the connectors. So basically we will use only 2 of the wires of here. That is the motor Hall lines and the motor main phase lines, right? So these 2 will be used in this test and the others will ignore for now. If you want to understand more, you can subscribe to my channel to see the next video about this e-bike testing device, right? So what we are having here is the 3 connectors for connect the phases. Basically, we will need to disconnect from the controller, right? And connect here through the phase of the motor. This is the first test that we're going to do. The objective of this is just to test how is the windings of the motor, how is the coil copper of the motors, if everything is all right. So means that you have some behavior that will be observed by these 3 LEDs here, right? These 3 lights here, that is XA blue, XB green, XC yellow. So these 3 phases will be tested by these devices when I connect to the motor, right? So let's disconnect from the controller because we are testing only the motor. Let's separate the motor controller from here. Also, we can turn off the e-bike display, right? Let's make the connection again with the motor because the connector appropriated is this. It's important to see where is the arrow because there is a correct position for connect. So let's make the connection. As you can see, there is 2 arrows here. You must match both, right? So then let's connect the phases of the motor with the 3 phases of the tester, right? Let's connect blue with blue, yellow, and after the green. Make sure that is not touching between them, right? After this, we must turn on the device, right? Must turn on the device. We already have some indication that we have battery. Battery is healthy. We have this LED informing this. And then the next step is turn the motor. So if you turn the motor, you can see that is depending of the movement, we have the blinking of the 3 LEDs, meaning that all the 3 coils are healthy. You must ensure certain speed when you turn, when you spin the motor, because if you turn slowly, as you can see, there is no power generating by the windings of the motor, so you need to turn a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. Then you can see that all the 3 LEDs is blinking, meaning that the 3 phases are healthy. So if you have this behavior of the 3 phases, means that the motor phases is healthy, is okay. You don't have any issue in the windings of the motor. Okay. The second test that you can do is regarding for the Hall effect sensor that is inside this motor, these 3 Hall effect sensor here. For this, we also must do the connection. Okay, for this 2 here, instead of use the motor controller, we use this tester in the place of. So let's make the connection, right? As you can see, we already have 1 LED on. And when you turn, you can see that we have the 3 Hall effect sensors blinking, right? That is HA, HB, HC, meaning that Hall effect A, Hall effect B, Hall effect C. That's why we have this information just right here. We have also A, B, and C. So as you can see, there is some minor difference, because here that are showing that the A is blue, but here is A is green. So it doesn't matter this, right? The important is that the 3 LEDs is blinking when you turn the motor. As you can see, that all is blinking. The Hall effects in this row, and also in the below line, we have the 3 LEDs blinking, right? So this is the way that you can test the motor. So in case that you observe some awkward behavior, some strange behavior of your e-bike when you accelerate or during your travel of the e-bike, perhaps you can have some issue in Hall effect sensor, or maybe in some winding of the motor. This e-bike tester could be useful for detect if the issue is in the motor or if the issue is in the controller, because one of 2, certainly you could have some issue if you have this problem in your e-bike. And in the case that you have an issue in the Hall effect sensor, you can purchase only the board or purchase only the sensor, open the motor and replace, right? In the case that you have some winding with issues, so the problem is more complicated, but you could have some broke in the cable, so you can inspect all the cable and check if everything is all right. In this case, you just can replace only the cable, and then you have your e-bike working normally. So that's it for this video. I hope that this will be useful for you, and stay tuned for the next video, and see you soon.